Hello everybody, welcome to another episode of Sport Federation TV, where of course every week we take a look at what's happening in the world of sport in the Western Cape, of course across the 6 districts in the province. For you that are not 100% aware yet, well, in fact tonight I am wearing the official Provincial athletes colours. We'll talk about that a little bit later during the course of the show. But we will be focusing on our federations this evening and the sport codes, and of course tonight a special episode because we have the Vice President of the Western Cape Provincial Sport Confederation, Mr. David Maans, in studio with us. David, welcome to Sport Federation TV.
Thank you. Welcome thank you for having me, JP, and to all the viewers and the sports fraternity out there. It's nice to be here.
Well, not only are you the Vice President of the Western Cape Confederation, you're also the Chairman of the Central Karoo District Sport Council.
Indeed, and I also hold the position of Chairperson for the Rural and Farm Workers Sports Commission.
So you got your hands full with sport.
Yes, I mean sports is actually a driver, you know, and like we say, sports is a bridge builder, and it actually builds a person's personality and so on.
So how long have you been involved in sport?
Wow. Like I said now the other day to the other crew that interviewed me, is I actually started, you know, where we came from the previous dispensation. We didn't have all these nice things that we have now. So we have to invent our own balls and stuff like that, and we used to what they now call flucky soccer. We used to play in the streets and in open fields and so on. Of course, gravel, there was no grass at the time.
Was that your start to sport, football?
Yes, yeah, football is my...
Your passion?
Yes, football is my passion, and I started, and I was 14 years old when I was introduced to administration of sport. That time, people said later on that we organized from the boot of the car, but that time there were no cars. And so on. So I became the secretary of a football team called Virginia Spurs, where I grew up. And
was this in Beaufort West?
In Beaufort West, yeah. Right. And then I became the vice secretary. That were all the terminologies that they used at the time.
And you're
the
only
vice secretary,
14 years old,
the vice secretary to the Central Karoo Sports Union, football union at the time. So the guy who was the secretary was a person who was in a wheelchair. We called him Drew, so I was his secretary at the vice, and he taught me the ropes of football administration at the time.
So what does that look like for you? I mean, sports administration is obviously one of those things that you don't see it. Yeah. You only see on TV the exciting things. You see the goals getting scored, but not many people talk about the volunteers and the administrators.
You know, JP, we in Central Karoo, we have normally our annual Easter tournaments. One of the biggest Easter tournaments in the country, one of the richest tournaments in the country that drew across the province, or in fact across the country, about 32 teams each year, and we have to shift them down to 24 in order to fit in for that weekend of Easter. And last year our prize monies was 75,000 first prize, and in total until 8th prize, in total 250,000 rand just for prize monies. That makes us the richest amateur football tournament in the country. Now, putting work into that, you must know there are teams coming from Joburg. There are ex-professionals, because it's the magnitude of the tournament makes that people go out there and get the best players to come, because they want to win that 75,000 rand at the end of the day. So the work behind that prior to, and like you said, people just see the end result, but they don't know the hard work and the fighting and the bickering behind the curtains in order to produce the goods.
But of course it starts long before the event.
It starts long before the event in terms of the planning, like January. Then the invites already get out to say, listen, that's going to happen again. you must join, and so on.
So an event like that, obviously it happens long in advance. Is it the kind of thing that one you have to bid for, or you have to ask for to get it on the calendar with your national body?
No, look, your national, or in SAFA they talk about regional structures, and in our case we talk about districts. Each region is an autonomy on its own. It runs its own business as long as you participate in your SAFA responsible activities. So like your SAB leagues and so on. But otherwise, all other tournaments and things that you do it on your own peril, you don't even have to get permission unless people from outside of the country wants to come and play, then you must get permission from.
But that's probably because you're part of the official structure.
Of the official structure, of course, yes.
So when we talk about sports administration, it's really events that we see in the public, events that we see being organized. The only way to make sure that's a legitimate event is to actually check that it's endorsed by the national structure.
Of course, yes. And also your district sports council.
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, they are the custodians of sport in that particular region or district. So you must get all that. And then, of course, you must put your events plan as well, so that the police, the municipality, and all those people can give the go-ahead.
So you just mentioned something in there, like, for example, municipality or police. I'm sure there's many other aspects as well. But I assume then that a sports structure will only be able to endorse something from a safety plan perspective.
Exactly. Yes.
I mean, this is one of the reasons.
Yeah, that's the safety plan that you have to submit, so that the police can rate the event. And so on. So then they say, no, it's maybe A. In their terminology, they say, oh, they won't have to deploy a lot of police there. So it all depends on the level of. Now, Easter tournament, I think you saw some footages of that. There is every day, for the starting off on the Friday, any time of the day, between 3,500 to 5,000 people. And finals on the Monday, you get 15 to 16,000, 20,000 people gathering there.
But the the national body will obviously want to know what's going on. They want to know the athletes are being looked after.
Exactly.
They want to know that the athletes are registered.
Yeah, of course.
So you can't just do things without ticking a few boxes.
Exactly. Yeah, you have to be, if you want to play, you must be, because you have to produce your
membership
SAFA, my SAFA registration card. Although you play for another team, but you must be able to show, but I'm playing for Future Stars in Beaufort West, and here's my card. So I'm an eligible player to participate in the
Do you also use those events as like maybe a little bit of a talent identification opportunity? Do you see some superstars running around there and say, there's my next champion?
The scouts are there. James Motibi from the Northern Cape, who played for Pirates, who's having his own academy. He's also, each and every Easter, he is there. Mark Williams, who played for Bafana, he's there Easter weekend. But all right, more family, because he's got a lady from Beaufort West. But it attracts a lot of people to come and see, and especially people from Cape Town to come and scout there.
Folks, we're going to take a break. When we come back from the break, we'll carry on our conversation with Mr. David Maans. He's, of course, Vice President of the Western Cape Provincial Sport Confederation, as well as the Chairman of the Central Karoo District Sport Council. And we'll be finding out a little bit more from him about this emblem that you see behind me, this Western Cape emblem, where it originates from, and, of course, to tell me more about this uniform that I'm wearing. So it's a very interesting and exciting conversation coming up. Don't go away. We'll be back in a second.